All right, thanks everybody for being here for the work session for our meeting next Tuesday, not Monday. We'll work through this agenda, get any questions answered. We will start with Mr. Nails from EDA to talk to us through his appropriation request.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. I apologize I wasn't here when you did the other appropriation hearings. I was on business travel, but I do appreciate the opportunity to come in at a work session and talk to you about economic development. So Morgan County Economic Development was created in 1969. You guys were a founding part of that in the 60s. And ever since then, we have been committed to working with new industry, existing industry expansion, workforce development in the Morgan County region. In addition, EDA is also partners. We're also the Decatur Morgan County Port Authority, which is kind of more the development arm of our organization. And the two work hand in hand, with EDA doing more recruitment and the Port Authority doing more development in terms of that nature, as it is public. So because of your partnership with us over the past 53 years, Morgan County's had over 150 new manufacturers locate in just Morgan County. This is just industrial. This doesn't account any contractors or retail or any multiplier effects. We've also had more than 1,550 expansions of those industries in those 53 years. And those projects announced more than 29,500 new jobs, direct manufacturing jobs, and tens of thousands of indirect jobs. The capital investment for those industries over the 53 years exceeded $12.29 billion. And we're proud to say that those investments were not only made by domestic companies, but we now also have foreign direct investment from 18 companies representing 12 different countries. So we're very fortunate to be diverse in our industry base. If you want to take a little smaller snapshot, I always like to look anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Since 2017, Morgan County manufacturers have announced over 1,800 new jobs with over $2 billion in new capital investment. So that's just within the past 5 years, and that was during the pandemic. So we're excited about those numbers. What is exciting about this is because all of these are not still under construction. So a lot of these are under construction, haven't even started hiring yet. And just recently, you had the ULA announcement of $317 million. Polyplex of $90 million is under construction. That's 100 new jobs. So there is definitely a trickle-down effect, and things are going to be coming online in the next 2 years as we still work new projects. A majority of these new companies and investment have obviously either been within the Decatur city limits or the Decatur PJ, obviously because they have the best infrastructure in terms of transportation and utilities that are available. But there have been announcements throughout Morgan County, which is our coverage area. We currently have 3 full-time employees, 1 part-time employee. You've got myself, Marley Schmidt, our project manager, Cindy Vincent's our research administrator, who has been there 35 years as of 2 weeks ago, and Charlotte Stewart is our part-time financial person. So I think we do a good job with the size staff that we have in our office and the dollars that you contributed to us. So what does your appropriation get you? The main thing I do is recruit. We try to recruit through trade shows, site location consultants that we keep up with throughout the year. We host events in Atlanta, Chicago, New York, and we're fixing to do one in Detroit. We do prospect visits. We go to corporate headquarters. We go to domestic and abroad travels. We do a lot of marketing campaigns. We also do a lot of more digital marketing campaigns through Google. If somebody's searching for economic development in Alabama, we'll have an ad that pops up that'll take us to our website, and we put those in strategic locations throughout the U.S. and internationally. Site development is another big part of what we do in terms of looking for new sites, which you guys are aware that we're pretty limited on sites within Morgan County, Decatur proper, because of our constrictions with the wildlife refuge in Lawrence County. But we do work with our partners in Limestone County, Bethany Shockney, for that annex portion over there. We have worked several projects over there in partnership with them. We still look for new industrial land, really focusing towards what can be redeveloped as we look to maximize our space that we do have. And then we are looking to diversify our economy and looking possibly to find an attractive space to do a kind of a shared space work center downtown for people that may have been displaced, working from home. A lot of people have given up their office space, so we feel like that's a niche that's going to be coming up soon, and we're focusing on a study to possibly do that in downtown. Our existing industry program, as you can imagine, there's 150 plus manufacturing companies in here. We want to make sure that they're happy and that they don't go anywhere. So Marley's job is to sit down with those guys at least once a year and make sure they're doing okay. If they have any issues, make sure that we address those. Workforce, we're currently at 2.6% unemployment, so we're up a little bit, but that still creates a challenge for not only our existing industries, but also recruiting new industries. So we work with our partners, the chamber, all education levels, even through the high school, elementary levels, AIDT, pardons and paroles, and now we're even looking at those exiting the military. So we're targeting those military bases and showing them what jobs are available here and working with our existing industries. We host monthly managers meetings with our top plant managers and HR officials. And we also, if you look at the CPI index for Decatur, Morgan County, we have to do a workforce, a quarterly cost of living survey. That data comes from the information that we collect on a quarterly basis in terms of things that cost. So Cindy in our office takes care of that. We also do an annual regional wage survey for local industry, and we use those for prospects, and it gives a really good, accurate representation of what the wages are here in kind of our Tri-County area, as opposed to just some generic data out there. We also maintain our available sites and buildings databases with the state and TVA, and we are hosting the co-ops that travel through here in the summer, winter months, and all throughout the year to meet with them, let them network together, and hopefully get them engaged in our community so that when they do graduate, they might move back here. Appreciate the current appropriation of $61,000 annually. That's about 10% of our annual budget. Currently, our request is $90,000, which would be approximately 15%. Our annual budget is about $610,000. Any additional funding would be used to increase our marketing, communication efforts, both in the house and by contract, and then support special projects or studies looking at site development, redevelopment, and that shared workspace center that I mentioned downtown. So you've been a long-term supporter of our efforts since 1969. We truly appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to work for you. I would welcome any questions.
Y'all have any questions? What, so total budget 600,000, who else, where's your other, rest of your contribution come from?
So 314,000 comes from government memberships, the largest of that being the county. But all the municipalities are members of EDA and pay, used to be based on population, but as those numbers, and I think the city used to give us $100,000 at one point, and we've, that was back in the Lynn Fowler days. But as the economy comes and goes, those numbers have adjusted up and down from each. But the county is our number one contributor, $200,000 a year historically. But all the other municipalities are members of EDA. In addition, the Port Authority is a big contributor to the budget, considering I represent the Port Authority as well. So they give us a contribution of about $200,000 a year towards operating expenses, salaries, things of that nature.
How many jobs on the Polyplex expansion and the ULA? Say 100 on.
There's 100 on Polyplex and 51 on ULA. And that's not counting what's going to come after the Beyond Gravity expansion.
What percentage of those would we say reside in Decatur?
That is a tough question to answer, Billy. We don't and can't put restrictions on people hiring, especially in this job market. But I would suspect, we did a zip code study one time that was favorable. The majority of our employees either lived in the city of Decatur or Morgan County. The next county was Lawrence County, was the second highest, where our employees come from.
All right, any other questions? I would say I've recently had conversation, I guess, because of these expansions with the ULA kind of executive level folks, and also with GE. We were there last week to do a tour, and they were very complimentary of you and your staff, and spoke to, that's why they're a big reason they have continued investment here. So definitely appreciate that from your team. So anything else? We're good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with you guys.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into the agenda. First is approval of minutes, August 8th, 2022, 5 p.m. council work session, August 15th, 2022, 9:30 a.m. council work session, August 15th, 2022, 10 a.m. council meeting, August 23rd, 2022, 10 a.m. special called meeting. Any questions? All right, set public hearings, ordinance 22-4529, approve rezoning request 1401-22 to rezone approximately 6.69 acres from R1 single-family residential to R4 multifamily residential located at 2616 Arms Avenue Southeast. Set public hearing for October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m.
Yes, this is property just under 7 acres. It's so the old Morgan County Board of Education property that fronts Point Mallard Parkway there. Immediately behind that, between that property and the existing subdivision back there, there was a church that used to be on this property. This rezoning would tie to the old Morgan County Board of Education property, which they are proposing for a large multifamily development along with some commercial outparcels along Point Mallard Parkway. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission.
All right, any
And
questions?
If it was not in the packet, we do have a preliminary layout that was provided by the developer. I'll make sure that each of you have it before the meeting.
Okay. I think it was, but any questions?
This is the one from Athens, Cambridge Place.
Yes.
Real similar.
Yes,
It's off
real
Lindsay
similar.
Lane. If you haven't seen it, it's
And
It's worth looking
it comes to you as a traditional R4 multifamily zoning, but it's not the traditional R4 multifamily that you think of,
they're more
large
like townhome
buildings.
units.
They look and function more like single-family townhomes.
Yep.
Usually no more than 2 or 3 attached together. Most of the time they'll have garages for the units too.
And then just to clarify, they're not planning to connect to the neighborhood to the south. Is that, I think that's Alpine back there.
They will not be connecting into that neighborhood. The planning commission was not in favor of that, and the developer affirmed that they have no interest in that, that all access will be going out to Point Mallard Parkway.
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks, Lee. Resolution 22-214, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 507 13th Avenue Northwest. Set public hearing to be held on October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m.
Just here if you have any questions.
You don't know, we're just setting this public hearing, but, who owns that property now?
Which one, Billy?
507.
Did you bring, you got the files, Josh?
You can just tell from there.
It's, Brenda Allen. I think she was a family member.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The other, I'll read the other two, David, if that's okay with you.
The other two, the ownership?
I'll read, I'm just gonna read them.
Okay.
Resolution 22-215, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 504 Finley Drive Northwest. Set public hearing for October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. And resolution 22-216, approve abatement of unsafe conditions at 406 Fifth Avenue Northwest. Set public hearing for October 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Any questions on any of those?
We'll bring more to you when we, at the work session.
Okay. Thanks, David. Public hearings, ordinance 22-4523, approved pre-zoning request 139822 for Castle Rock Global Holdings LLC located south of 3102 Modus Road Southwest to an R5 single-family patio home. Public hearing was set, Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022.
Yes, this one and the next one are tied together, the same development. One was just a pre-zoning, as it was a small piece outside of the city limits, and then the larger pieces is the next item, the rezoning. This is the Brown property on Modus Road, immediately to the west of the previous R5 development that is underway right now. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission.
And this one is just for that small tract that was annexed?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, ordinance 22-4524, approve rezoning request 139922 of approximately 53.44 acres from Ag 1 and Ag 2 to an R5 single-family patio home district. Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022, which you just spoke on. Any questions on that one? All right, ordinance 22-4525, approve rezoning request 1422 land services from an Ag 1 agricultural district to a PRD 7 planned residential district. Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022.
Yes, this is a property on Central Avenue on the southern end of the city. It's ringed on the north and west sides by Pool Valley Road. Coming to you as a PRD 7 request, planned residential development. A little different than most rezonings. Giving it this zoning designation then requires, before any development can happen, they have to submit a development plan for approval by the Planning Commission. Whatever's in that development plan, once approved by the Planning Commission, that is what the developer will be held to for all plating submittals. All development on that site must conform to exactly what was approved in that development plan.
All right, any questions?
Do you know if it's the same builder as the other?
It's the
Kind of
same
a
as the
joint- is
one
it
right
Roush-
across the
Roush
street from it.
Coleman?
Roush Coleman.
Okay.
I think you mentioned when we talked about this one before, they're gonna have to ask for some other variances based on what?
They will be on the Board of Zoning Adjustment tomorrow. One of the things they have to ask for is, according to the current zoning, on the perimeter lots, there are defined setbacks required for any of the properties that touch the perimeter of that property. They will be asking to be able to have a standard setback, side, front, and rear for all of their properties. So that's what the request will be, is to modify those setbacks required. But like I said, that's only required for the perimeter lots, and that's specifically what would be being asked to be modified through that variance.
Primarily detached, single-family houses with
Some attached on the southern end of the property, but yes, a majority will be single-family detached.
okay,
Very similar to what you see in a patio home.
yeah.
Just slightly smaller front and rear yard setbacks.
All right, any questions? All right, resolution 22-174, approved demolition of accessory structure located at 705 Prospect Drive Southeast. Public hearing was set August 1st, 2022.
And I'm happy to say that we can remove that one.
I was hoping I would hear that. All right, good. Any questions on that one? All right, resolution 22-217, approved request for off-premise beer and wine alcohol license for River Bridge Shell, doing business as Kipco Incorporated at 915 6th Avenue Northeast, Decatur, Alabama 35601.
And that's just an ownership change.
All right, any questions? All right, resolution 22-218, approved request for on and off-premise wine license for the Little Cigar Shop at 110 2nd Avenue Northeast, Decatur, Alabama 35601.
That's an ownership change and that's a new one. They've not had alcohol there before.
All right, and they can, there's some requirements, they have to be in certain area or
Yeah, they have to stay within certain areas.
Okay. All right, any other questions on that one? All right, ordinance 22-4531, approved request for limousine license for Select Transportation LLC at 445 East Moulton Street Northeast, Decatur, Alabama 35601.
On this one, we're gonna be asking for immediate consideration because it's lengthy to get a limousine license, so it's been quite lengthy for them and they're ready to get started.
Okay. Any questions? Thanks, Lori. Weed abatements, got quite a few here. David, anything of typical weed abatement?
Same price and everything.
All right, any questions on those? All right, moving to resolutions. Resolution number 22-228, accept the Alabama Historical Commission grant to update Decatur's HPC design review guidelines.
This is for a grant that was applied for in the spring. Council made a resolution on December 20th of 2021 authorizing applying for it in the match funds. So we will be receiving $18,000 from the state, and our match portion is $12,000. And the $12,000 is what council had already agreed to let us match when applied for it last year.
Okay, any questions? All right, thanks, Caroline. Resolution 22-229, accept the proposal of the master planning process of Wilson Morgan in reference to the new recreation center.
No changes.
This is the plan. They'll do a master plan for the entire area around Wilson Morgan Park. That includes where the new rec center will go, which will also include a venture park and future parking areas around that.
So master planning the whole site and.
Because it's
with-
gonna take that. As
Yeah.
far as setting up parking, setting up the areas that we're talking about using, it's gonna take a master plan.
And answer me if I'm right, that the rest of the idea is that we're potentially gonna be sitting a $30 million facility on a however old park and just need to update the whole thing.
Just
as
update the
well.
looks of it.
Okay. And they can help us kind of situate where things need to go. And
Correct.
traffic flow, and with your softball fields there too.
Right, right.
All right, any questions on that?
And that was 61,000 for the whole.
Correct, that's correct.
All right, any other questions for Jason? Well, you're still up. All right, resolution 22-230, accept contract from Frameworks Architecture to move forward with cemetery building.
I'm actually gonna ask to table this.
Okay. Can you, we've probably been involved, I know Kyle has, about this with some opportunity with the chapel, and maybe there's a way to save some money that I think you're
Correct.
working on. so.
Correct, and I did have conversations today with representatives from Baker Foundation and others that I think we need to pursue some of those options.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome. Any questions on that one? Thanks, Jason.
Thanks.
Resolution 22-231, accept donation from GE Appliances in the amount of $750 for facility upgrades at Decatur Fire and Rescue Training Center. Springer, good to see you.
Good afternoon, council. Good to see y'all. This is just an acceptance of a donation made by GE Appliances. We had trained some of their employees in rope and confined space training. So this is just for some equipment or some supplies to upgrade one of our drill towers at the training facility.
All right, any questions? Thank you, sir. Resolution 22-232, declare items no longer needed by the City of Decatur Information Services Department as surplus and authorize disposal.
Brad Phillips, Director of Information Systems. Same thing we do every so often. We're disposing of old computers and other servers and things like that we no longer need.
All right, any questions? Thanks, Brad. Resolution 22-233, approve Decatur Downtown Redevelopment Authority conveyance of 2 tracks to satisfy debt proposal. Kelly?
Good evening, Councilman. This is just in lieu of payment for a $66,000 debt that the city has for DDRA for the train depot.
And the 2 tracks are?
Walden Oaks Park and then the 6th Avenue Park that will eventually be renamed Jones Park.
Do you remember the appraised value?
166.
amounts?
We have the tax assessor values, so the tax assessors was 166,880.07, and that was for, Jones Park, which is the one on 6th Avenue. And then, 29,600 was Walden Oaks. But we actually have Walden Oaks listed as 48,480.07 because of the work that DDRA spent on it.
All right, any questions?
And we're already maintaining these,
Yeah.
so yeah, just FYI, so.
All right, any other questions? Thanks, Kelly. Resolution 22-234, approve request for a special use permit from Verizon Wireless to modify equipment on an existing tower located at 401 McIntyre Lane. I don't see Mr. Andrews, but Herman,
It
anything?
just
we need
appears
to
to
add?
be an upgrade to 5G.
Okay. All right, any questions on that? Resolution 22-235, approve Pryorfield Regional Airport FAA grant.
Yeah, of course, as y'all remember, the airport property is owned by the 4 entities, Limestone County, Athens, Decatur, and Morgan County, and the grants have to be applied for by us. The appropriation we made covers this match. This is an FAA, part of the project that they're attempting to have. This involves environmental study, so the exposure is very small as far as any cost. In fact, we do not anticipate any cost to the city beyond what we've already paid. But this just authorizes the mayor to sign this grant agreement.
All right, any questions? Ordinance's first reading, ordinance number 224531, approve annexation 36922 and 11.17 acre property located at 2319 Old Moulton Road Southwest.
Yes, this is part of the Littrell family property. It's all of the property from where the lumber mill is down to Beltline Road, all that fronting Old Moulton Road there. This was actually approved by the Planning Commission several months ago, but due to a deeding issue, it held up being able to submit this for consideration here at this body. Because of that, it's holding up a development that is wanting to get going on this property. Because of that, I would like to request immediate consideration on this one if possible.
So this parcel gets us contiguous to the other?
It does. That's another piece of this, is there is another pre-zoning that was considered contingent upon approval of this one that needs to begin at the next council meeting, if at all possible.
Okay. All right, any questions? All right, Herman, I know you had a few items. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Of course, y'all are aware, we're in negotiations. Y'all approved us to negotiate with Neil Holland, or Holland Properties, on the property out adjacent to his family's homestead and our Jack Allen Park, not far from it. So we anticipate asking y'all to approve on Monday an agreement as relates to that property purchase. This afternoon I sent out by email the proposed agreement. The reason for that is because the property owner is trying to do a 1031 swap, and the time for that runs out next week. So, and a tangential item is the parking lot that we've been in discussion with the Decatur City Schools. That MOU needs to also be approved next Monday. Both of those are work in progress. Both of them have been sent back to the property owners, and we anticipate asking you to allow us to add to this September 6th agenda those two items, the MOU for the parking lot with the school system and the property purchase agreement with Holland. And as soon as we have the MOU in a posture where we can send that out, once the Decatur City Schools has approved the format, we'll send that out.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
if
the
we
other
get that-
item.
If we can get that done in time. I have no issue adding that.
Yeah, we thought we may have to have a special call, council meeting to ask for that, but the time, we've been allowed a few more days to get it this transaction accomplished. But, all right, and then I have one other item. It involves the overpass in Limestone County. We need to request, and I've already talked to Kyle about this, an additional $150,000 additional project cost, which would come out of the general fund unassigned balance, but it's part of this project. It will help us hopefully to move forward getting this, the litigation resolved in circuit court and get this project moving forward. And by doing that, that allows us some flexibility. But our attorney that's representing us in the condemnations has requested that we make that request. So we can go ahead and get that in place. So it's $150,000. Actually, it's $144,000, but let's round it to 150 because I hate to come back every time with a few thousands. But and I guess I was the chosen one to make that request. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Herman. Anything else from directors? Kyle, go ahead.
I just have two pieces of information to share. First is there is a $12 issuance fee when you purchase a license with the city. That fee, the state increased it to $14. So we have an ordinance in place that allows us to automatically do that. Just wanted to make that aware to you all that the issuance fee will go to $14, and that will go into effect January 1 of next year. Secondly, we're moving towards doing changing a policy internally to require all our vendors to fill out an EFT form. So this would eliminate us physically cutting checks as forms of payment. We've had a lot of issues recently with, from protection standpoint, where people can take our images of our checks and fraudulently make them and start running out of that. So with that, and then we're cutting back on costs from an administrative standpoint, cutting checks. We have outstanding checklists that we're always having to reconcile, and then having to avoid them if they are stale. And then we also are going to save on check stock, the special ink printer, and we spend close to $40,000 a year in postage. So we'll save that on that as well. We're hoping to implement this on 10/1, and we've sent a letter out to all of our vendors. We've recently paid to inform them and get the ball rolling with the information we need from them to put into the system. And just wanted to let you guys know in case you start hearing any feedback from vendors.
This is just to vendors.
Correct.
It's not saying you'll never issue any check to anyone.
Obviously,
Yeah.
our goal is to get a majority, and we've tried to do that so far, but it seems to be that there are a lot of people that are maybe hesitant or just kind of ignore us. So we're trying to create a policy that, you know, says this is the way we're going, here are the reasons why. And we know there'll be a transition period, obviously, and we're still required to pay our vendors timely, so we get that, but this is the route we're gonna go.
They wanna make sure you send good remittance advice, just FYI.
Yeah, it's so, for those that do get EFT currently now, I know I get one for my dependent care. It's an actual check stub that comes to your secured email that you send to us when we create the vendor, so you'll still get all that information.
Okay. All right,
That's all I have.
All right, Ms. Sandlin.
Just want to take the opportunity to update the council on the board meeting from last Thursday, which was pretty comprehensively covered in the daily. But based on the findings of the 2022 market pay review and analysis, the City of Decatur pay structure defined as the job classifications and their pay range, not people, the job positions and the range. The city's plan grade assignments for the majority of job classifications were found to be below the market averages. This is consistent with a 2018 pay study, and the market data group included for this analysis was Decatur, Madison, Athens, City of Coleman, and Madison. We've also seen issues with recruitment, retention, and employee engagement because of the kind of the backward slide of our pay scale. Therefore, it's recommendation of the Personnel Board that the city's 2018 pay structure, that's the grades and the steps, be adjusted by a 6% market adjustment, not a cost of living. It's a market adjustment. And within that adjusted scale, an analysis of the positions would be conducted or has been conducted. And those market adjusted pay structures would then be assigned, the job classifications would then be reassigned, if appropriate, as follows. And this would include succession classifications as well. So those classifications where we have a level 1, 2, or 3, or a junior and a senior. So if in the adjusted pay structure, the 6% market adjusted structure, if positions fall more than 5% below the average minimum starting point, those would be reclassified to a pay grade that corresponds to the average market starting point. And the affected employees would move into that new adjusted pay grade at a step equal or closest to their current pay status. And consideration would be given for limited scope internal equity adjustments considered toward prevention of grade compression, where we in our succession positions, we don't have them close in pay grades. Prevention of step compression, where we don't have new hires bouncing over tenured employees. And peer group equity adjustments, where we might have a supervisor that's in an extremely low pay grade, we would realign them into a pay grade that's appropriate to supervisors. Where job classifications in that adjusted pay structure fall or less than 5% below market, there would be no realignment recommended. We've calculated an annual recurring cost of $2.9 million, and in working with the mayor and the CFO, we've included a placeholder in the 2023 proposed budget. If approved, the recommended changes would be effective on Monday, October the 3rd. That's 2022, that's the first day of a pay period. And if council, that's not on the Monday agenda, the timing didn't allow us to get that on the agenda, but I needed to give an update and get guidance on next steps.
And I had chatted with Herman this morning. I do think we need a resolution on next week's or this agenda to approve this, because if it's not approved, it really changes when we would vote on the budget. So
Okay.
if we can, Herman, is that the appropriate step to take?
Right, it just helps, because you need to know that, because I think that Kyle's proposal was that y'all approve the overall budget the 19th, which means you would present it at the work session the 12th. And if you don't do it the 6th, then it's a little tight. But yes, to answer your question is yes.
So next week, we would look at this, what the Personnel Board approved last week. We would look to say, yeah, we're moving that direction, or no, and then adjust the budget. Okay. Any questions for Rochelle?
Do we have any idea what the benefits package is worth roughly with the PTO, holidays, dental, health, all that stuff?
On average, we run about 50% of base salary. Industry standard is 30.
Industry standard's 30, ours is 50.
And the longer you're here, it's closer to 55 because of the paid time off.
All right, any other questions? Thanks, Rochelle.
Thank you.
All right, anything else from any directors? Anything else from council? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.